Three head coaches, one extended, one hired, and one fired. Oh, yeah. It's Locked On HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current contributing writer at USA Today's Saints Wire. Thank you for going on this journey with me, making Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. It just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. And if you're new to FanDuel, you get $150 back in bonus bets guaranteed on your first bet, win or lose. Just like the intro says, we have three head coaches. One got an extension, one got fired, and one just got hired. We'll go in that order on today's episode, and we kick it off with Johnny Jones getting an extension from Texas Southern University. And this is a well-deserved extension. And surprisingly, not because I didn't think he'd be here for long, but just it doesn't feel this long. Johnny Jones has been at TSU for 6 seasons now at this point. He was hired in that 2018-2019 season, not in that season, but going into that season. That was his debut at Texas Southern. And it's one of those things I'm like, dang, yeah, he was there when I went to school, but for some reason, it feels like he should be there my last year at TSU, but he was there my second to last year. It's just one of those things where, hey, I was excited when they brought him in because I knew the name. I knew the Johnny Jones name from LSU. So when you already coming in, and mind you, at this point, Texas Southern has some success. Like we were winning during my time frame, during my time at school, we were successful. And once that coach left to do whatever he wanted to do at that point, and they brought in a new head coach, well, it was going to be a little difficult for me to be excited. But then they bring in somebody who I already know and I was well aware of with Johnny Jones. Like I said, that was primarily due to his LSU tenure. And you saw those LSU ties during his time at TSU. And we're building into what he is, but I also want to give a little background on what he's done. I just also want to bring in some background on who he is and in kind of the time frame of what that first hiring, that initial hiring really provided. And I thought it provided a jolt where everybody, oh, they got Johnny Jones, the former LSU head coach. He ended up having Ben Simmons on the sidelines for a game. Then you also seen Shaq's son. We all know Shaq is an alum of LSU. You had Shaq's son come in on the recruiting tip. This was a really good hire, and I feel like Johnny Jones has done a phenomenal job justifying the faith that Texas Southern placed in him. I can't see a reason that Johnny Jones would leave other than Johnny Jones just wanting to leave. I think that you see coaches who come in from big schools and they go to smaller schools and they don't succeed like that. He didn't rest his laurels on LSU. It wasn't, oh, I went to LSU. That's it. No, he came and he put the work in. And I kind of don't feel like he gets enough of the credit because he had immediate success. This guy was a really good coach off the rip for Texas Southern, or Texas Southern was successful off the rip with him as a head coach, right? We already knew he was a good head coach, but he proved it here. So one of the reasons I don't think he gets enough credit is because he came into a team that was already very successful. I don't think he gets enough credit because of that. So it's just like he just continued the path. But this isn't the NFL where you can just continue with all of these players who have been assimilated. You have to go through different players and different iterations. I don't think he had a successful season. I don't think he had a season with Mike Davis's team. So I don't really want to hear that. I think that's a bad narrative, but I also think he doesn't get credit because TSU has just been good before him and he's continued them being good. The other reason is he doesn't have a regular season title. And I think for some, even though he has the postseason titles, and that's what I care about mostly, They may feel like, oh, he just gets it done in the postseason, but not enough in the regular season. People find reasons to pull apart others. I'm just trying to find a reason that I don't hear Johnny Jones talked about enough. Because to me, he's been exemplary. To me, he has overshot all expectations. And another reason I could be feeling this way is because I'm a TSU alum, and I just want everybody to overload my guy with love. I don't know. But let me tell you this right now. However much praise that you're giving Johnny Jones, give him more. Because in his 6 seasons in the conference, he's won the championship in half of them. In his 3 NCAA tournament berths, he won 2 of them. But let's get beyond just the postseason play. In his debut, his very first game as Texas Southern head coach, Johnny Jones knocked off Baylor, backdoored that with a victory over Oregon that same year, and then he came back to defeat Wyoming, Florida, Arizona State in 3 consecutive years. Might I add, that win over Florida was the first time ever that a SWAC school had knocked off a ranked SEC school. So you tell me what box he hasn't checked. Postseason success, big dance victories, which brings money and brings revenue to the conference. And then he's also knocked off high-profile schools, including one historic victory. Any amount of praise that you've given Johnny Jones, give him more. He deserves this extension. It goes all the way into 2029, but I'm going to be real with you. He's done enough to where I can't see a reason that if he doesn't want to re-up, that Texas Southern wouldn't want to re-up. And that goes on for on and on for on and on for on and on for on and on. Like this is not a game. And then just also off of the court, you see him in the HBCU All-Star game. So off of the Texas Southern court, away from HP&E. You see him at the HBCU All-Star game. And I just think with the kind of cachet that he has, with the reputation and the history he has with LSU, I think he's a really good guy who can step into many rooms. He can step into rooms with suits and rooms with families. Like, I think that he is a very, very good ambassador for men's basketball at Texas Southern. This is a guy who I genuinely believe, as long as he wants to stay, he can. He's done nothing to prove to me that he can't. Also, in one of those championships, he had a really major Cinderella run where he was the 8th seed and made it all the way and won the SWAC tournament. But that's not all he does. He's had many very successful seasons. But yeah, I think that this guy's phenomenal. I have no more to say about it. I will just continue rambling on because that's how good that I think he is. But I'm able to stop myself today. Stop. As we keep pushing forward, we have another coach. This coach was not as lucky. Robert Prunty did not get an extension, but he did get a notice. As we continue with Locked On HBCU, we explore that. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. And Monopoly Go really does bring out my competitive side, because when I'm playing Monopoly Go, I'm trying to beat you. And not only am I not trying to lose, I'm trying to go ahead and make sure that you fall down as much as you can. Maybe I'm not playing the game the right way. I don't know. To me, this is how it was designed to be. There's no reason I should be able to have access into your vault if I can't go take from your vault. So my competitive side says, go get the money. What's that song? Go get the money. Go get the money. Go get the money. Go get the money. That's OT Genesis. Anyway, that's what I'm doing when it comes to Monopoly Go. I'm listening to OT Genesis, and I'm going to get the money. But if you want to be friendly, that's cool. You can play with your friends and y'all can go get the money together. But either way, it's Monopoly. Stack the bread. Stack the bread. Go ahead and download Monopoly Go, the mobile twist on the hit classic Monopoly, on your App Store or Google Play, and be able to join the 150 million people who play the game now. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day. Now, for your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On Sports Today, the first of its kind 24/7 live sports stream on YouTube. No breaks all day. Just check it right now and see what is going on. Now, I want to continue rolling with our 3 coaches. We had one with the extension, and that's Johnny Jones at Texas Southern. Now we have the unfortunate fate, which is Robert Prunty, who was fired from Hampton. And I was thinking about having this last, but I said, you know what? I kind of want to end it on a happy note, a way more positive note. So in order to do that, I want to go into the person who has been hired. So let's go ahead and kick it off with Robert Prunty, because this is a major shift. Outside of the MEAC, this is all that Hampton really knows. When Hampton decided to leave the MEAC after the 2017 season, so that 2018 season, Connell Maynard also resigned. We see he's now at Alabama A&M, but he also resigned. Who did they go call to lead the charge as you're moving into a new era? Like, this isn't just, oh, okay, we're just going to get a new head coach. In a way, you had to get a leader who was going to prepare you for the Big South at that time. And who knows, maybe I don't know all the ins and outs of the Maynard deal, so I want to speak too crazy, but maybe they wanted to get a new coach heading into the new conference, and they just knew, and Maynard knew that. Everybody knew it. So like, hey, we're just going to go ahead and resign. It's nothing about you. But I saw it with North Carolina A&T. They moved coaches going into the CAA because there was nothing wrong with the coach that they had. They just came off a very successful season. I don't think that it was rooted in much success. So sometimes teams just want a new head coach. So maybe that was the case. I don't know. But enough of the guessing, because I don't really want to go into that. Let's look at what Prunty did as he went into the Big South and then he went into the CAA. And it wasn't pretty. Prunty was there for 5 seasons. And that first season, chef kiss, 7-3, but they didn't play any conference games. So they were essentially an independent in 2018, his first year as the Hampton head coach. Then as time went on, then they went into conferences. And once they went from independent to a conference in 2019, they opened up their Big South play, and it was Poochies from there. It just wasn't good. Like, yes, he had a 7-3 record year one, but that was the peak, and it was the only time that Hampton had a winning record in the Robert Prunty era. The conference record specifically was bad. When you're looking at what he was able to do in non-conference play, he always had either a winning record or a 500 record at worst. He never had a losing record when it came to non-conference games at any point in his career. His first year, all non-conference, 7-3. He had a couple of 3-0s. He had a 2-2. I think he might have had a 2-1. Like, he was very good in the teams he picked out of conference to play. But when it came to playing that Big South, year one win. Okay, you're getting acclimated, I guess. Year 2, 3 wins. It's an upgrade, but then you go into the CAA. In the first year in your CAA run, 1 win. Second year in your CAA run, 3 wins. It's a pattern. 1 win, 3 win, 1 win, 3 win. He never got to see a third year in either conference. He didn't get to see it in the Big South because they actually changed conferences, and he just had to move into the CAA now. And now he's gotten released, so there's no third year for him in the CAA. We don't know what he would have done year 3. Maybe he needed an acclimation period. I don't know. But all I know is, regardless of the change, that's 4 years of very minimal success. I don't think that's I understand why that's not rewarded. I understand why you can't just continue to come to work. I think the timing of this is interesting. To do this after spring practice, I wonder if there's more to the story. I'm recording this Tuesday night. This is going to go out Thursday. I already have a Wednesday episode lined up with Gerald Huggins, but this will go out on Thursday. If there's any new news since then, I'm telling you the time that I'm recording. This is Tuesday night. 2200, right? 21:59 to be exact. But like, this is what I'm looking at. Post spring practice, this is very late. You let him install everything in the spring practice as if we were just going to go normal. So now that you made this decision, did new information come your way? Why'd you pull the trigger now? I don't know. I don't have those answers. Maybe I will. And if I do, I'll come back and I'll give it to you. I don't know if we're going to have a Friday episode, because I'll be out of town. That's why I'm recording this so early. I'll be out of town, and I'll be coming in on Thursday. But I don't know if we're going to have a Friday episode because I may be getting in late. And I really just want to enjoy my vacation. I just want to enjoy my vacation, to be honest with you. So, where was I at? Let me get in the match. Oh, one good thing that he can hang his hat on is he's 4-0 against Hampton. So they're now 7-0 or 7 straight games, and he was half of that. So congratulations to him. He can hang his hat on that. I don't think it's going to be difficult for him to find a job. He came in with a very strong recruiting background. He was the recruiter of the year in multiple conferences, including the Big 12. So I think that he'll be able to land on his feet. That's not something that truly concerns me. I expect him to land on his feet. So I do wish him the best, but I don't think it'd be difficult for Robert Prunty to find work. His boy, Tommy Tuberville, is not playing or not coaching anymore, but I'm sure in that time frame, he made other connections as well. Now with Hampton, you're going the route of interim head coach. Of course, you just fired your head coach. Who's going to be your interim? But I think it might make the most sense for I think it'll make the most sense for Hampton to just go the interim all year route with how late you're doing this. I understand April, it could have happened April 30th. I understand that's not late in the calendar year, but in the football year, that's a late decision because let's say it takes 2 weeks for them to find a head coach. Cool. Now you'll be in mid-May. So you're going to get 2-3 months to be able to really install your offense before training camp goes in. I don't think this is good. I think that sticking with the interim player or the interim coach, if you stick with the interim coach, you're able to keep a little bit of continuity. You're so late in the process that I think continuity grows in importance. I downplay it when you're going right after the season to find a new head coach. But if we're looking at May, mid-May, players have already went through spring practice, I might want to keep a little bit of continuity just to help the beginning of the year. So I'll say that. Also, who is the interim head coach? So you have Trent Boykin, who's coming in. He was the running backs coach last year, and that's one thing that they did very well. Nobody ran for more yards per game than Hampton did. They were very successful on the ground. They had a nice two-headed punch or two-headed attack. Elijah Burris was a player who was second in the conference in running and rushing yards per game, but he also had to share time. So that having to share time probably played a part in it. So I'll keep it like that. As we push forward, though, because I want to move into the UAPB head coach, because this is a little bit more. This is a little bit more of a positive, and I'm really interested by the decision to go with Erica Leaks because she is the new head coach at UAPB women's basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime, and Gametime is the place that I would suggest you to go for any ticket that you need. I don't care what the event is, right? Maybe you're somewhere where they have playoff basketball. We've seen a few series get closed out. Our Pels got closed out. We kind of expected that. But in addition to them, you also had the Lakers out of here. Shout out Jamal Murray. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, maybe you're in a place that does still have some playoff basketball and you want to go to a game. That's fine. Go ahead and look at the Gametime app. Maybe you want to go to a concert because you know I'm a music lover. Maybe you want to go to a play. You want to find the fine arts. Maybe you want to. It doesn't matter what you want to do. You go ahead and go to Gametime. They show you a view of your seat, and you can make a decision on if you like what you see. If you do, go ahead and buy the ticket. And if you find a cheaper price in the same section, same row, they'll give you back 110% on the difference. They do not believe you'll be able to find a cheaper price, and neither do I. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. Remember to add that college on the end, and you'll be able to get $20 off your first purchase. As we're wrapping up today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day, making it all the way to segment 3. And I thank you 2 times for that. Thank you. Thank you. UAPB has found their new women's basketball head coach. And we get into our final coach of the evening. We've looked at the coach who was extended. We looked at the coach who was fired. But how about the coach who was just now starting their journey? And that is Erica Leak. And she comes in to replace Dawn Thornton of UAPB. I was always interested because interims throughout the year are not my cup of tea. I suggested it when it came to Hampton because of the timeline. But interims throughout the entire year are not my cup of tea. Make a final decision. That's the way that I feel on it. And that's exactly what UAPB did. And I was reading an article to try to get a basis on who Leak is. And when I did that, I found an article in which they were describing the hire, a reporter who had been covering UAPB for 5 seasons. And they said, this is the biggest splash that I've seen UAPB make. I don't know how familiar that reporter was with UAPB prior to their joining the beat, but that's a big statement because Erica Leak has never coached on a collegiate level before. She comes over from West Memphis and not in Tennessee, but in Arkansas. And I don't think that you can't transition. But to give that praise and to say that she has the highest potential to take them to their first NCAA tournament berth, it was like, whoa. And then you look at who she is and what she's done, and I understand where it comes from. My initial statement was like, that's high praise, ain't it? But then as time went on, I understood. So she's coming in after raising the success level of 2 high schools. She just most recently did it with West Memphis, but she raised another school's success rate 1,000%, as they said. I don't know if that's a hyperbole or a way to just, just get the point through. But the point is, she was a very successful head coach at both of her locations. She brought West Memphis to their first national championship, state tournament finals since 2003. She turned programs in a completely different direction. So that's where you get the confidence in her coaching ability. But then also, she's a former WNBA pick. She was the number 1 overall recruit in the state of Arkansas when she was coming out of high school. She has the reputation. She has the pedigree to make you feel like, oh, you're getting a big time hire. Put all of the where she's coached aside, you're getting a big time hire in Erica Leak. And she said, hey, I'm what's it called all the way. I'm Arkansas all the way through. So this is interesting. And she said this is the premier school in the Delta. Like, this is a very interesting hire because you're bringing in somebody who in the state of Arkansas, big deal in the state of Arkansas, comes from the high school level. And one thing that I love about high school coaches who move up to college is you have that recruiting base because you've been around, you have relationships with these people, you know who's good in the area. And when we're speaking about HBCUs, I know it's a very localized recruiting pattern. This makes a lot of sense, and this could really benefit her in the long run. So I think that this is solid, and going that high school route kind of gave you an infinite timeline because high school basketball isn't starting until October, and it's way less solid, right? You're bringing somebody up. There we go. That's the better part because it's not in the timeline. Bringing in Erica Leak from the high school ranks means that you're able to just kind of not worry about some of the same hurdles that you would have if you were going on the collegiate ranks. Because I said, hey, your timeline is crunched. UAPB got their coach snatched, and they got their coach snatched at a time that I would have liked to pick my head coach. So now that that's over, you don't have a Final Four to lean on, whatever, that's cool. But when you go to high school route, it don't matter. That don't matter. I can go get you in June. Because you're likely not even thinking anything else until I wouldn't get you in June because of recruiting. But I can get you in June because your team is not as affected. So I think that this was a nice timeline. Sorry, Nicole Mealing. You probably won't be on the staff because it sounds like Leak is already going to have her staff members that she wants. But yeah, this is a solid hire and everything. I'll be very interested to see what the team looks like because the transfer portal, I believe, is almost closed. I think it's almost closed. So this is going to be very interesting. But I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day, making it all the way to segment 3. I really do appreciate that, genuinely, for all my segment 3ers. I haven't thrown that one out there in a long time, but to all my everydayers, thank you. In the meantime, in between time, until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care, stay blessed. Peace.